And welcome back to Monday Pluck. Now on this very footy-focused edition of Monday Pluck, we are joined by two blokes who are involved in the game at the highest possible level, but in completely different ways. We've got from Collingwood, we've got Chris Tarrant. Chris, thanks for coming in.
How you going, guys?
And at the other polar extreme, we have AFL umpire Matt Stevic.
Thanks, mate.
Matty, how are you?
Good, yourself?
I'm not too bad. Now, firstly, Chris, calm the pies.
Yeah, we haven't been too good this year, but hopefully we start stringing a few together.
That was my first question, calm the pies. Okay.
Chris, I've got a question for you. Obviously, you're playing at the highest level now. Has the AFL always been your dream, or was it sort of a transition from growing up, and did you always want to reach AFL?
Yeah, always did. Always, as a young kid, wanted to play AFL, but never thought I'd actually sort of reach that level. Always enjoyed my footy. I wasn't much good at school, so if I probably didn't make it in footy, I don't know where I'd be right now. So it was always my ticket out of Mildura, and hopefully to be a better thing. So I'm enjoying it at the moment. Yeah.
Mildura, a fantastic place, obviously.
Yes.
Now, did your parents push it all when you were growing up, or was it your own decision to get into footy and to keep on going like you have?
Yeah, it didn't really have to push me. I was always enjoyed football. So my dad coached me through my junior levels, which made it a little bit easier because I sort of got to play where I wanted to, which made it pretty handy. And but they were more of just supportive, and they were actually really good. They stayed out of most things. They only sort of dropped me off at games and picked me up, and so they were pretty good.
And Matty, what made you get into umpiring, and how long you've been there, and how long did it take you to get there?
Well, I've been umpiring for 13 years, and played 2 years with Leongatha in footy with all my mates, and obviously enjoyed running, enjoyed being involved in the game, and just took up boundary umpiring as a bit on the side. And obviously 12, 13 years on, now umpiring AFL footy. So
When you started in Leongatha, were you umpiring mates that you usually play with?
No, it was a pretty good setup. I was actually umpiring in another league, so I'd play with my mates on Sunday in the under-16s and umpire the other day. So that worked out pretty well.
That's all right.
Chris, you were drafted back in '97. How hard was the actual transition from the kick around in country footy, which we've probably all had a go at, to playing AFL, which is a totally different level, obviously?
Oh, extremely difficult. There's a lot of things you probably have to deal with coming from the country, more so if you lived in the city. I found it pretty tough at first to adjust to the Melbourne lifestyle and just being away from friends and family and stuff like that. But and just sort of the physical nature of the game as well. I think I've put on about 12 kilos since I've been in the football club. So it does make a fair bit of difference once you've got that weight behind you and you start to get that bit of confidence. That's probably the biggest couple of things. And
important to really prove yourself in the first couple of years, was it?
Probably wasn't for me. I think because I got drafted pretty low at number 7, you probably got that couple more years on people get drafted a little bit later, because they expect you to probably develop it. Take 3-4 years to really start playing some good footy. So my first couple of years, I was in and out of the seniors a fair bit. I spent most of my time on the bench actually, so which was a good learning experience. Sort of made you want to sort of get out there a little bit more and try that bit harder. So
any initiation ceremonies with the rookies that coming through?
Yeah, we always have a camp, usually pretty early on in the season, during pre-season, and you usually have to get up and tell your first sex story, or while we're having a couple of beers, and a few of them can get pretty interesting. You don't know if the boys are actually lying or telling the truth.
Chris, you're 23, is that right?
23, yeah.
And Matt, you're 24. Now 23, that's quite a normal age, because blokes get drafted at 17, 18 these days.
Yeah.
But as an umpire, Matty, you're 24 now. Is that quite young for an umpire?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's guys sort of ranging from 24 right up to 43, so and guys in between that. So I guess with the exception of Brett Roseberry, who was put onto the AFL senior list at 19. So he's probably the exception, and he's been there for 5 years. So he's still only 24, having done 60 games of AFL footy, which is pretty outstanding.
Matt, obviously, being fairly young, but working your way up, there's a pretty distinct path if you're a footy player. You play for, whether it's a country team or districts or up through the amateurs or something like that. Is it much the same for umpires, or is there a different sort of system you have to work through?
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, obviously you take part in a local league of footy, and if you're good enough, you get selected to take part in a state-based competition, whether it be the VFL or sandful or waffle competition, and over time you just work your way up to VFL senior footy in my case, and once you achieve and umpire the VFL Grand Final, you're then given the opportunity to trial at AFL level. So much similar to the pathway the players go.
Chris, you're pretty renowned from shying away from the media and its involvement in football. Do you think it's become too much part of the game, the media?
Oh, definitely. I think probably more so outside of football. Fair enough, they do expose a lot of stuff on footy and stuff like that, which is good. But just a private life, I think they should keep private a fair bit. And it's starting to really, you can't really do much a whole lot these days, which is getting a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
Do you think the media puts too much pressure on coaches, players and umpires?
Oh, for sure, all three. There's no doubt about that. It's such a big business these days that I think in football, in the media, people like to read about it and stuff as well. So,
yeah,
which is you just got to take it, I suppose, with these days. I think probably in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be probably even worse. So,
yeah. What do you feel about that, Matty?
Oh, same. Look, it's that's the way footy's heading these days, and players, umpires, coaches just need to get on with the job, do the best they can, and try and avoid where possible any sort of controversy.
Do you think the media forget that umpires are human and that they're always going to make mistakes, and you've got a split second to make a decision on, say, a tackle or something, and they've got half a day to review the footage?
Yeah, I don't think they forget. I think that's part of their role to cover stories on footballers, umpires, decisions and everything we make. So that's just part of their role, and we need to accept that.
Righto, boys, stay with us. We're just going to take a quick break and we'll be back after this. And welcome back, and we're still talking to AFL player Chris Tarrant and AFL umpire Matt Stevic.
Chris, as your role as a player and the biggest pressures in maintaining form, how do you avoid injury?
How do I avoid injury? I think that's what you do a pre-season for. Is 5 months of the year, you're doing running and getting your body right to sort of enable you not to sort of get injured during the year, I think.
Matt, what about you? What are the toughest parts about being an umpire, not just necessarily maintenance of form?
I guess probably the biggest thing is consistency in your performances over a long period of time. The best umpires, the best players play for the long periods of time because of that. So probably achieving that and mental toughness out on the games, remaining composed and that sort of stuff's pretty important.
Chris, just out of curiosity, who did you barrack for as a kid?
I followed Geelong, being from the country, the Geelong team, and Billy Brownless and Gary Ablett were my two favourite players. So
how hard is it, when you got drafted, did you want to go to Geelong or were you quite happy to go to Collingwood?
At the time, I wanted to go interstate at the time, which sounds pretty weird. I wanted to get the experience of going outside Victoria, and I was hoping to go to, I think, Sydney or Perth or something like that, just for something different.
Yeah. But there's no problem playing for a team that do you still barrack for Geelong? Or?
No, you instantly when you sort of get drafted, your mind just swaps over into a. And the same as my whole family and friends and a lot of people have sort of followed me over as well.
Yeah. What about Matt? You allowed to say who you barrack for as a youngster?
Well, mate, I actually, having played the game for the Leongatha Parrots and Mighty Parrots, I a bit of a supporter of those, and obviously with all my mates, was a real supporter of grassroots footy. Followed AFL as a youngster, but
can you say who you supported?
No real team I supported, I'd say.
Yeah, there was an interesting story you told me about a player about 10 years ago, an umpire 10 years ago, who said who he supported, and then something happened. Is that, you can't now say who you support?
Oh, not necessarily. I think, as I said, we all grow up loving the game of AFL footy. We all follow it to varying degrees, and I used to go to the footy a bit with my parents, and you'd watch a lot of games, but didn't really have anyone that I follow.
Yeah.
Matt, look, obviously no pun intended with the Leongatha Parrots and the mention of grassroots footy, but do you get to know the players by name at all out there on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. At AFL level, it's an expectation that we know every AFL footballer who we're umpiring, and I think that really helps just build a bit of a relationship out on the field if players have got issues with us or we've got some issues with them and have to have a chat at some time. So, it just helps everybody that if we can use a name, it goes a long way.
Chris, as players, do you guys respect the umpires and realise how much of a terribly hard job it must be to be out there?
Yeah, you do. I'm probably not so good in that area sometimes, to be honest. But you do get caught up in the moment a fair bit out there, and you don't try to take it it's not personal at all, you know, like you might be just questioning a decision or something like that, but sometimes you might come across a little bit too aggressive, I think, sometimes. But
would you
definitely do just respect the job they do.
Would you ever consider becoming one?
No, I don't really like running too much, so you have to run too far.
Just sit there in the forward line.
You wouldn't want to come off with another Chris Tarrant as well.
How do you guys get on then? Like, is it generally a good feel between players and umpires, or?
I think that it's improved a fair bit.
Do you muck around on the field and have a joke and stuff? Or?
No, not really.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think it's a little bit too serious to sort of be doing that. I think if you knew the umpire pretty well, maybe if you went to school together or something like that, you'd be able to do something like that. But because you don't know them personally, it makes it a bit hard.
Yeah.
Training session for you, Matt, what's that consist of? Just a couple of days a week?
No, most guys would train every day, whether it be a running session, gym session, or in the pool or something like that. But general session would be a running session. It might be 2 or 3 800s, warm up, warm down, and that in between, and some sprints and that sort of stuff. So it just varies depending on where we're at.
Chris, what about you, mate? What's the training schedule like? I see all the time on TV, you guys standing in freezing cold water down St Kilda Beach.
Well, that's just Tuesday mornings. Pretty much we're full time, 10 till 4, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, which consists of weights, meetings, then training, and probably more meetings. They love their meetings.
Meetings for meetings' sake, or are they pretty helpful?
We have meetings for meetings these days.
Alright, boys, we do have to wrap it up, but really quickly, Chris, how boring is the Brownlow? Because we get to watch it on TV, we get to change the channel. You're stuck in there, you have to watch the whole thing. Is it terrible?
It's probably one of the best pervs you would ever want to go to. It's sensational. Actually, last 2 Brownlows, we've actually been in the grand final, so we have to sit there and
be good.
You're not allowed to have any beers, and so that probably makes it go for about a couple of hours extra longer. But it's actually it's not too bad. I think the girls probably get more out of it than what we do.
It's all about the girls now.
Is it still the ultimate prize, or is the grand final the ultimate prize for a player?
You'd have to say the grand final. Being a team sport, that's why you play football, I think, is for you make so many good friends and you've got so many good mates down there, you can sort of just share probably that. But I suppose winning a Brownlow would be pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Matty, you as an umpire, of course, you have to put in your votes for the Brownlow.
Yeah, we actually, the 3 field umpires get together after a game and go through the best player and who we believe the best, second best and third player is, and come to an agreement on that, and obviously fill it out, sign the forms, send them into the AFL security box, and forget about it basically. So,
and probably the $1 million question, Chris. Very quickly, what's Eddie Maguire like?
Eddie, actually, I get along really well with Ed. He's helped me out sort of areas off the field as well. So, I'd have to say he's a pretty likeable sort of guy. He's always willing to help any one of the boys out, which is pretty good.
See, I don't mind Eddie. Everyone bags Eddie, but I like him, all right? I reckon he's a good bloke. He's not overexposed.
Adam's actually searching to move from Channel 31.
So I'll be asking questions. I think he wants to be millionaire. Now, we've got to go. Chris, can I just get you to do me a big favour? Can you sign this for me? And we're going to we'll give you a bit of backing there. We're going to give this away to a viewer at home. SMS us on 0411 50 44 34. Number should be on your screen right about now, and you just have to tell us what number Chris wears on his back. Boys.
That's on the weekend, that is. On when he plays.
Yes.
The number he wears on his back.
Yes, not when he's on his day off. Righto, boys, thanks for coming in. Here is a quick vox pop of we asked a Suburban League what they thought of umpiring. Let's have a look.